everybody. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about art journaling in a bullet journal, or really just art journaling in anything, and how that can translate into your bullet journal. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. Today I wanted to address my dumpster fire bullet journal specifically and what that translates to for my actual planning bullet journal, and what my art journal, dumpster fire bullet journal allows me to do is it allows me to practice techniques to figure out if A, they work, B, if it can translate into something a bit more functional, and then also just to get practice and figure out how to use different techniques. So when I was starting my stamping journey, I would practice in other bullet journals a lot, just to get the technique of stamping right. The other thing I practiced was lettering. I have tons of little traveler's notebook bullet journals with half-written words or half-written phrases and letters and everything scattered everywhere. So having a extra bullet journal, or even just like I said, a traveler's notebook journal, can really help with building your confidence in terms of using those techniques in your bullet journal. I've seen a lot of comments where people are hesitant to use a bullet journal because they're too scared to mess it up. And I remember feeling this way when I first started. The blank page can be extremely intimidating, and the fear of messing up. Well, a way you can get around that is grabbing a sketchbook or grabbing an extra notebook and just practicing ahead of time. Not necessarily pre-planning, but again, practicing ahead of time. So although I practice some techniques and some things in art journals and art bullet journals, I'm a little lazy. So if I do something, I want to do it once, and if I do it the first time and it looks good, I want to do it once. So I would always just throw it in the notebook, and if it worked, it worked. If it didn't, it didn't. So that's another way that you can go about doing that. But I know you spend a lot of money, or you can spend a lot of money on these notebooks. So the thought of messing up can be very scary, especially, like I said, these notebooks can be expensive. So there are a couple things you can do. You can get a second notebook to do your practicing in if you want to get a dot grid so that you get a better idea of spacing and layouts and such. You can check out my bullet journal review series. There are a number of great options out there. Particularly affordable and good quality is the Paperage that you can grab off of Amazon. And the other options you can do too is you can just make a notebook. So what I did, I made a traveler's notebook out of mixed media paper, and so that allowed me to practice pencil techniques and stamping and inking, distress inks, all sorts of things that you can practice using. You can even use a couple pages in the back of your notebook. I've done that too, just to get an idea of the paper quality and how the paper was going to work. I mean, in a perfect world, you'd have two of the same bullet journal, but like I said, I'm not exactly going to have two expensive notebooks and just have one to mess up in and one to use. That's not reasonable or affordable or cost effective. So definitely look at other options. You can even use lined paper. At one point I was using graph paper that I got from Walmart. You can use whatever you have out there. The best part about an art journal is that it allows you to mess up and it gives you that creative freedom. And you're not always going to sit down and boom, something jumps into your head and you're going to do it. But for example, something that I'm not comfortable doing those abstract art in the bullet journals that you see where people make circles or weird little shapes using two different colors and then add an element over top of that. I'm not comfortable with that. I don't know, it's such a simple concept, but to actually make it look good can be really trying. So one thing I'm going to be working on in my art journal is practicing that technique to see if I can figure out what works for me. Watercolor painting as well. you don't want to mess up in your bullet journal. So if you have mixed media paper just lying around, nothing fancy, just put it down, practice, get the blending, get the shading, just have fun with it. And it takes a lot of the pressure off, because then you get to practice that skill and then incorporate it into your bullet journal. The other thing I wanted to address is art journaling will help you build and develop your style as well. Now, in my mind, style is very fluid, and it's influenced by what's going on at the time, both in your life, both socially, whatever speaks to you. So go easy on yourself when you're looking for your style. Definitely play and practice in your art journal. And as you get more confident and as you get more comfortable using the tools, you're going to see a huge difference in your bullet journal if creative bullet journaling is what you aspire to. So I'm going to share some examples of art journals that I've done in the past and what they have become. This is just mixed media paper that I stapled together. But one layout that stands out to me is this one. I created this layout using gel plates, distress inks. I used stamps. These are all stamps. These are die cuts that I just roughly colored in. And I just was trying to see how to use the different elements. And so this layout turned into this layout in my bullet journal. So this in my art journal became this in my bullet journal. So again, you have the distress inks, you have the stamping, and overall just a lot of fun and very impactful. So then another example would be this one. So what I did was I got to play and experiment with stencils and stamps and dye inks, and I used some gelatos as well. Wasn't quite what how I wanted it to turn out, and so I was able to translate this idea into this again with the distress inks. Now I didn't quite use as many elements since this is a bullet journal and I didn't want to use the pages. This turned into this, which turned into this. So don't be afraid to have your scrap art journal pieces that you're able to get your ideas out on the page. Some ideas work. This was with Crayola Sparkle Paint, which I would never use in my bullet journal because it's rough. And then there's this that doesn't work. And it's all part of learning and figuring it out as well. So same thing with this. I actually messed up. This was a second attempt, which is what all this thickness is. But yeah, and then this too. So you just have to experiment and play. I have another art journal that I can show you as well. This I was playing with gelatos. It's when I just started lettering. Yeah. This is experimenting with watercolor paints. And then here we have the stencils with the distress inks. And this I used a gesso with a stencil. And this is a magazine cutout. This I was putting ideas together for another bullet journal layout, which became this one. So it was just playing to see the different colors together and see how it would work. So again, a lot of fun, very simple, and just that practicing alone turns into something fun and exciting. So a more recent example would be my bullet journal dumpster fire. I played with some glitter in the bullet journal, so that when it came to doing this layout, I knew the best way to get the glitter in there without having it be rough or without having the glitter lift off and get everywhere. So again, it was an experiment. I wanted to try put glitter in my bullet journal, tried it out and figured out that this would work better. So that is a more recent example of what the bullet journal has helped me to do. The other example I would use is this one with the paper punching of the paper bags and the beads. So through this layout, I was able to do up this layout. it gave me the inspiration to create the honeycomb, and more importantly, it made me realize that I can draw bees and it'll be okay. So those are more direct examples, more recent examples. I can also show you this initial layout, which again is I feel like my standard stencil with the watercolors, and then here you have the brick stencil with the distress inks, and here you have a stencil where I just use a gel pen. So lots of techniques, lots of ways to play. Yeah, it's great to have, we'll call it a safe space to practice in, so that you know you can work on the technique before you commit to it in your bullet journal. And I know this art journal doesn't look like much of an art journal, but I'd rather you recall these guys where there's a lot more experimentation, a lot more that maybe isn't as curated. So just things to keep in mind as well. You don't have to curate your art journal, and to be honest, I can't believe I'm showing you this. So that's just, yeah, that's part of having your art journal. And again, like I said, giving yourself a safe space to learn and explore. So I hope you found today's video helpful. I'll have a blog post related to this as well, so you can go check out more of my art journal images and see how my mind works. But thank you for watching today. I hope you like and subscribe and stick around. And if there's any specific topic you ever want to see me cover, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you for watching today.